What's up, my friend? Welcome back to the MindShift Podcast. This is our 5th year anniversary show, episode 298, and I'm so excited to have you here with me. If this is your first time here, welcome. You're welcome. You couldn't be here at a better time as we are celebrating, as I said, our 5th year anniversary. Also, if you're here, we just celebrated my birthday. Round 54, trip 54 around the sun. So if you happen to be connected with me on social media and you missed it, you can send me a note at Mr. Darrell Evans on any social platform. But listen, today I'm here to just share some gratitude and some thanks to those of you who have made this show possible. You know, when I sat down in 2019, July 19th, and we launched the show, I have to back up about 90 days earlier when I was attending a conference, a 4-day personal development, personal growth conference by Brendon Burchard. And Brendon challenged me during one of the workshops, not me personally, because there were 2,000 of us in the room, but something he said from the stage resonated and called me to action to get this show started. And that evening, when I went to the hotel room after we finished our 10-hour day, I put up the landing page that said we'd be launching the MindShift Podcast. Now, here's another part of the backstory that many of you probably don't know, that I procrastinated starting this show for 3 years because I said I was going to start this show in 2016. Isn't it funny how we have ideas and intentions and plans and something in our heart to do, but yet we don't take action? Today, I'm super grateful that we have made it to our 5th year. We started the show July 19th was when we dropped our first episode. I shared an episode with you, and if you're new here, I'd love for you to go back and listen to it. And I talked about a little bit of my journey, and that when we focus on our inabilities, we are actually holding ourselves back. That was ultimately the message of the show that I had to come to grips with, that I shared in that opening episode. And again, that's episode number 1 if you have not listened to it and you're brand new here. If you've been with me for any length of time, whether you've listened to all 297 prior episodes or whether you've listened to one here, one there, whether you've subscribed and followed and you download every week, whether you are just popping by because someone said pop by, I'm grateful, because I realize that whether it's 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour-long show, that you could have done something else. You could have been doing something else. And I want to take just a second and say thank you. It's been my mission with this show to help people do a couple of things. Number 1, help them shift their mind so they can shift their results. And I've had to do that my entire life, which is how we got to the concept of mind shift. Mindset is what a lot of personal development people talk about, a lot of books talk about. And I realized in my life that my mindset could oftentimes get me in trouble. It could take me down a path because I was so focused on what my mindset was, and maybe that mindset wasn't correct. Maybe that mindset was taking me further from where I wanted to go rather than closer to where I wanted to go. There were a number of things that happened in my life, like you, like me, like every one of us listening, no matter where you are in the world. By the way, thank you. Thank you for the 2,200 cities and 118 countries that this show has touched. If you're listening right now, thank you. Would have never thought we would reach this many places and geographies. And Lord knows, as much as I like to travel, I wouldn't have been able to get out to all of these places. So thank you if you're listening from any of those cities and countries. But what I learned was when I hit a situation, and if you think about the intro to the show, play the intro back and listen to it closely, right? Real stories, real strategies that will help you find real success. This is the place to hear from people just like you. You see, I'm just like you, and my guests are just like you, who have taken their dreams from a point of inspiration to realization. And when life knocked them down, and it knocks us all down, from breakdown to breakthrough, I wrote those words knowing and believing that we are all in this together. We all go through slightly different things. We all have different goals and dreams, but in the end, we all have a journey from where we are right now to where we want to go. And that's what I call inspiration to realization. Doesn't mean you have to be some creator, some inventor who's creating a game-changing, life, world-altering product. No. When I first thought about inspiration to realization, it was like, how am I going to be a good dad? When I ended up with a child at 22, right? When I first started my first business at 20, like, how do I start this commerce business out of the trunk of my car when I'm in college at 20, right? When I left school in college and took 3 years off because I had a management position at Taco Bell, which many of you have heard about, how would I get back to school when I've now taken this full-time career job? All of our steps start with this idea, this seed of inspiration of what we want to do. Some of you are listening right now because there was an episode titled that spoke to you, and that's our job. That's our goal, which is to try to condense a 25 or 30 or 45-minute conversation, sometimes a 10-minute episode, into a title that might speak to you, maybe on your journey from inspiration to realization, or that other side of life that hits us all too often and sometimes all too hard. And that is when life breaks down. You get divorced, you lose a job, someone leaves your life, you get a health illness, you have a financial setback. How do you go from breakdown to a breakthrough? See, breakdowns come along to teach us something. That's what I've learned in 54 years. When I went bankrupt in the middle of the real estate collapse, it taught me some lessons, and that was that my business actually wasn't as healthy as I thought it was. Even though on the outside it looked good. All of my challenges, all of my frustrations, all of my roadblocks, all of my hurdles, all of my breakdowns were an opportunity for me to correct and shift the way I thought about the current environment, the current situation. And you're just like me, whatever that is, where you are. And so in this episode, I'm super grateful that we've made it to 5 years. There are some people that I cannot finish this episode without thanking for helping us along this journey. First and foremost, I got to thank Ashley Wood, the love of my life partner. She has supported me, given me space and room to sit down and share with not just things that I've learned, things that I've wanted to share, and there's so much more to come, but the space to bring all these guests in to support. She likes every show. She hits the follow button. Just the love and support is endless. Thank you, honey, if you're listening. My very, very, very first podcast producer, Leah Bryant from Leah Bryant Co. One of the best in the business, not just as a producer, but just one of the biggest hearts of anyone I've met in my decades and decades of years of experience. If you are thinking about starting a podcast, if you are currently doing a podcast, if you are like I was many years ago, where I started the show and I started doing the editing myself, and let's be clear, I didn't know what I was getting into, so I wanted to learn how to do some of the things, so I knew when I wanted to hire someone, I knew kind of what to expect. But I did it a little too long being cheap. And I don't know, I'm not sure if I'm speaking to anybody in the room, but I did it a little too long being cheap until I was introduced to Leah Bryant. And within weeks, Leah Bryant took over the show. And the only reason we aren't working with Leah today is because we have some things going on in the agency. We needed a little bit more expansiveness, and she's running her own business successfully. So Leah Bryant, thank you for supporting our show and producing our show and releasing our show on time every week for all the years that you did. all of my guests. So many, too many to call out here. But my goodness, I've got to thank some of my earliest guests. The late, great friend of mine, Reggie Bennett, my frat brother, Will Reed, longtime career friend of mine, just one of the best dudes. I'm privileged to serve on his board of directors at his nonprofit, Richard Jack. Marcel Baker, Navigating Career Change, was a fantastic episode. I met this guy. He was at the top of his career and pivoted in what we called a move from success to significance. Nino Galloway, one of my biggest inspirations. Nino, if you're listening, firefighter, I forget the number of years, 20 something, maybe going on 30. Just an inspiring soul, an inspiring friend. Some of you who were early on the show, Coach Roz Harris, my friend, 20 years, Jeremy Keene, my boy, 20 years ago, Darrell Evans, my brother. Eric came on in the beginning talking about his passion for how he has lived in the world of fitness. So many people along the way. There are so many great episodes that if you're brand new, and even if you're not brand new, I'd encourage you to go back and listen to some of those earlier episodes. They're a little bit rougher, let me be clear. I was editing them. They're not as good as who's editing our show today. So shout out right now to Mary, who is our current video editor. If you're not following us on social right now, oh my geez, you got to follow the MindShift Podcast YouTube channel, our MindShift Podcast Facebook page, Instagram page, and even some of the stuff on my page. Mary has come in and just lit things up. Thank you, Mary, for joining our team. And thank you for helping us take this show to the next level. Thank you so much. Nicole Sayosa, my executive assistant, my G's. She's not just my executive assistant. She's like my business manager. She stretches her hands so far and wide across the agency, the digital marketing agency, my personal brand, MindShift Business Academy, and this podcast. Couldn't get here without Nicole. Nicole has been just an absolute blessing, a rock in this business, a rock behind the scenes. You guys don't hear from her. You don't see her. Some of you, many of you, if you've been on the show, you've interacted with her. So many people, all of my guests, all of the critics. You know, I love when I get some critics and some feedback on social media. And I remember just recently, a couple weeks ago, someone saw a title of one of our shows and got into the show. And of course, everybody seems to be a digital gangster because you want to pop off with your keyboard, you know, and I appreciate it if it's valid feedback. But he thought the title was clickbait. And it had to do with when I released an episode not long ago. I want to say it's episode 290, I think it's 293. When I talked about ChatGPT and one of the best ChatGPT formulas that I've ever used to get really good output from ChatGPT and the AI stuff that we do with our agency and really in my everyday workflow. And he felt that it was clickbait. And, you know, he's entitled to his opinion. But if you've criticized me, if you have unsubscribed from me and you happen to be listening to here, you've helped make me better because I can see the numbers. I can see when the subscriptions go up. I can see when they go down. I can see when you don't like a show. I can see when you pop off if it's a 40-minute show and you drop off at 18. I know we have work to do. I'm not perfect. We aren't perfect. But we can't please everyone either. What I do know is that our intention every time we sit down to record is to bring you some inspiration, to bring you some strategy, some real story, and hopefully it'll find something to inspire you by. I remember walking into a restaurant several years ago, and I had on my Shift Your Mind, Shift Your Results MindShift shirt, which we'll link it up if you guys haven't got one. We can pop over to the store if you want to get one. If you want to support this show in any way, you can buy a coffee mug, you can buy a hat, you can buy a t-shirt, sweatshirt. We'd love your support. I think they're reasonably priced. Anyway, I walk in to eat dinner with Ashley, and we go to get ready to sit down, and she noticed somebody was staring at me. Somebody was drawing their attention, and I don't remember exactly how they were identifying me, but Ashley brought my attention to this gentleman who was sitting at a table of about 10 people with his family, and I guess he was trying to get my attention. She got my attention to see that he wanted my attention, and I wandered over, and I chatted with this guy, And when I think about the gratitude that I feel for doing this show and knowing that we're touching lives, he said to me, I'm a truck driver and I listen to your show. That's why we do it. I can't even believe I'm getting choked up. But here's this guy. I don't even know him. He drives a truck for a living. He's out on the road. I don't even know how I would reach a guy like that if it wasn't for this medium called a podcast. I don't remember all of what he said, but I was touched. Still touched to this moment. I remember going to a farmer's market and someone I'd known, probably I'd met 20 years ago, easily, said that she'd started her business and that she's listening every week to the stuff that we talk about from an entrepreneurial perspective and a marketing perspective, and that it was motivating her. Her name was Monica. Monica, if you're listening, thank you for listening. John, longtime friend of mine, sent me a message, and he was thinking about his entrepreneurial journey. And he's constantly messaged me, talking about how the show's uplifted him and guided him and given him my insights and direction. And John, I'm grateful. Thank you for listening. Just recently, had an opportunity during my birthday week to meet with a longtime friend of mine, someone who's like my boy. We don't see each other all that much. We hadn't even seen each other in probably 18, 15, 16, 17 years, something like that. We had a chance to break bread and have dinner with him and his son when he was in town for a short while. And Brian, if you're listening, thank you for your words. Thank you for what you said to me at dinner. It just touches me that I'm able to open this microphone, push record, whether I'm sitting with a guest or I'm sitting here on my own, with the intent to just share a life lesson, something I've learned through, something I've grown through, something I've broke through, so that maybe it would land with you where you are. And to know that it's doing that job for which we put it forth to do blows me away. I got to tell you that it's not always easy turning on this microphone and sitting in front of this camera, because I'm human just like everyone else. It is sometimes difficult to look at this inanimate object called a camera and find the inspiration as if you were sitting right here with me. But I got to tell you, short of whenever I get frustrated, I try to remember the gentleman in the restaurant. I try to remember the person I just got an Instagram message from just day before yesterday. I try to remember that someone needs what we're doing, whether I believe it or not. Because in all honesty, some days I'm wondering, does anybody care? Because podcasts are a lonely medium in a way, because there's no feedback loop, so to speak. It's difficult. Sure, you could message me on Instagram, but we don't put the whole podcast on Instagram. But I got to tell you, when the days get hard, when it gets a little challenging, I try to remember what one of my mentors said. When you're faced with the difficulties and you're thinking about quitting, remember why you started. A lot of people don't talk about wanting to quit. I've wanted to quit the show a few times. I've wanted to put it on pause. I've wanted to put it on the shelf and come back to it later. But here's one thing I've also learned. It's like with fitness. Fitness isn't something you can just decide to do for a period of time and then don't do it for a period of time and then start doing it at another later period of time and your body's going to be the same. It's not the way it works. It's not the way it works. And so we did stop the show at one point during COVID. There was a lot going on. We did stop the show during COVID. And at that time, I realized that I let a lot of people down. And this may sound strange to you, but we lost 50% of our audience when I put the show on pause during COVID. And it was about 3 months. And I realized that people were like, we'd like to hear from you. We actually need you. You know, people were like, oh, well, I guess I got to go find something else to listen to. And they never came back. Well, I don't know that they all didn't come back, but it was a lesson that people cared. And with that, I want to honor your attention. I want to honor your desire to be here. I would love it. And I'd ask at our 5th year anniversary that if you haven't done so, share this show with someone that you know. We have so much content. There's 280, 290. Today's 298. All of it's not for everyone. We have an entrepreneurial slant on, 30 or 40% of the shows. But in every episode, we are talking about personal growth, shifting your mind so you can shift your results, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether it's something in your personal life. My guests have been broad and wide and deep in their topic of expertise. We've had everything from AI to psychology to law we've got it all for you. And let me tell you what's going to be going on going forward. If you'll allow me to, there are times, as I mentioned, when it is time to sit down and do this recording in front of this studio microphone, in front of this camera here in my office. There are days when the inspiration for the episode that I wanted to share with you has passed. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but in the moment, something happens and I'm inspired to want to do an episode about it. And then when it comes time to sit down here, the inspiration has passed. I almost don't even though I go back to my notes, I don't even remember what was so inspiring to me about that topic in the moment that I wrote it down. So what I've decided, and I've made some adjustments, and we're still making some technological, we're getting some tools, and that is that if you'll allow me to, and you'll grant us some grace for some lower quality episodes, I'm going to be recording episodes from my phone periodically. I may be recording I'll do my best to stay out of loud environments, but when I'm inspired to share something that meets the mission of this show, I'm no longer going to wait until I'm in front of this microphone. I'm not going to wait until I'm in the room that closes off most of the sound. I'm going to use as best a microphone and camera that I have in the moment where I'm at. So I'm equipping my environment, my car, and in my different places. Many of you don't know this, but I'm inspired first thing in the morning during my personal time. Many of you have heard the show or you've heard about my morning routine. We'll link it up in the show notes in case you want to go listen to it. But I take 2.5 or so hours in the morning to myself. I spend time praying, I meditate, I go to the gym, I do some personal time, I do some reading. I get inspired for the day before the day gets a hold of me. Sometimes those are the times when my mind is really ready to release and I'm getting downloaded. And so I'm going to be honoring that more frequently going forward. My friend, I am grateful. Gratitude is such an interesting word, powerful, energetic word. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that this show is, by one website deemed in the top 3% globally, by a website called Listen Notes. I'm grateful that you're still here. I'm grateful that you've tuned in. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a parent, if you want to improve your health, your finances, your fitness, your mindset, your mental health, if you want to grow, you're welcome here. Please make sure you're a part of our email list. If you're not, join the MindShift community, mindshiftcommunity.com. It's free for everyone. You don't have to buy a thing in our community if you don't ever want to. We have we're here releasing free information in this podcast, on our YouTube channel, on our social media, in our private workshops. And if you want to buy and go up to the next level, we welcome that too, but there's zero pressure to do that. We're going to be here when you're ready. Let me tell you who I want to talk to going forward. We're going to hear more about AI and the transformation going on in AI right now. There's a lot. It's not hype. It's not hoopla. It is real. It is here, and you're here. It's time for you to take advantage of it. We're going to get deeper in AI. We're going to talk more about blockchain and what's going on in the world of crypto and how things are happening in the monetary system. We're going to talk more about health, healthcare, wellness, mental wellness, personal time, intentionality, goal setting, growth and achievement, something I deeply believe in called constant and never-ending improvement. Right? We're going to get deeper into some of these topics. We're going to take things to the next level. We're at year 5. I have yet to even release some of the most popular shows that we're going to have on this podcast. And I can't wait for you to hear them. I can't wait for you to hear them. If you're an entrepreneur, I got to speak to you for just a moment. If you're an entrepreneur and you're listening right now and you're not a part of the MindShift Business Academy and what we're about to do with AI and talk to our group there, we've got all kinds of things. We've got the AI Marketing Challenge coming up. We've got the AI Marketing Mastermind. We got the AI Growth Mastermind. I mean, we are transitioning businesses fast. 81% of small businesses in America are sole practitioners, solopreneurs. And I've talked to you now for 14 years since I've had the agency about the struggle it is to market and grow and do all the things in your business. Well, you need to be leveraging AI. And I guarantee you, you're playing at the surface level right now, even if you're already playing with ChatGPT. You're playing at the surface level. We're going to take you to the next level. Because in my agency, we've turned everything upside down. In our digital marketing agency, for the clients we help and serve, we've turned it all upside down. Cut costs 67%. It's ranged from 67 to 71%. We've grown profits from 240-something% to 253%. And we're going to keep pressing our foot on that gas, right? Too many of you small business owners are running sole practitioner businesses. And if you go away, your business stops, your income stops. This is not just digital marketing. This is not just social media. This is now integrating AI into everything you do operationally so that you can get the leverage that it affords. We are at a moment in time, my friend, that if you don't seize this moment, you are going to get left behind. That's it on my entrepreneurs. Get into mindshiftcommunity.com. Get over to yokolocal.com if you want to hang out with us in the digital marketing space. Get in the game, my friend. Get in the game, my friend. Okay? Listen, I want to wrap this up. I am so grateful, so honored, so thankful. And there's so many people that I haven't even had a chance to thank here. But if you're listening right now and you have helped us in any way, helped me, my company, my business, this show, in any way, I just want to say thank you. Last but not least, I want to say thank you to my kids, all of them, who listen to the show. This medium, to host this show, costs $18 per month. I didn't get a chance to meet and hang out with my grandfather on my mom's side. I didn't meet a number of my great-great-grandparents. I didn't get the chance to meet some of them. And when I think about the real mission of this show, you guys don't even know it, but part of Shift Your Mind, Shift Your Results, and inspiration and realization when life knocks you down from breakdown to breakthrough is my diary for my kids, my grandkids, my great-great-great-grandkids. Because as long as we pay this bill, they will get to hear a little something from me. My daughter, Jaya. She sent me a message the other day. And she was telling me something, and she goes, it was funny because she says, Dad, I was checking out your show, but you talk all this business stuff. And she's in college, studying engineering. And I was like, she was like, hey, I listened to this other show and I really liked it. And I'm like, oh, well, you know, somebody else has a show. And she was like, yeah, but I did. She went to Spotify and she proved it because she showed me her search history on Spotify. And she says, yeah, Dad, but I'm not an entrepreneur yet. You know, I need some more mindset stuff. And I was like, heard. So Jaya, thank you for that. This platform, I'm serious, as a parent, as an entrepreneur, anyone can sit down, turn on a microphone and leave a legacy for your family, leave a legacy for the generations to come. Not just the generations you're helping in the commerce space, but as I mentioned, this podcast for me is legacy. This podcast for me, it doesn't matter where we rank. It doesn't matter what charts we're on. It doesn't matter. What I know is that when we sit down, we have an intention to interview someone. If I'm interviewing someone, to really extract their learnings and align them with the MindShift method, because I know everyone goes through it, right? At some point, they were inspired to do something, that they reached a goal, or they had some challenges along the way and they had to find a way through breakthrough. That's what we're here about. My goal, my personal motivation and mission in life is as simple as it gets. And I'll leave you with this. Number one, I'm an eternal optimist. Doesn't mean I'm not a realist, but I'm an eternal optimist, which means no matter what it looks like, I believe we're going to find a way. Number two, I want to always positively impact lives that I come across. I hope this medium is doing that for you. I hope that in some way this show is doing that for you. If it is, I'd love it if you share it with someone. I'd love it if you hit the subscribe or follow button if you haven't already done so. We're on YouTube now, y'all. Come on over to YouTube, youtube.com, @ the MindShift Podcast. Follow us there. And I just, again, want to thank you. Year number 5. Who would have thought? I was 3 years procrastinating. So listen, if you're procrastinating on one of your dreams, go ahead and start today. Go ahead and start today. I'm telling you right now, I waited 3 years to start this show. 3 years. Thank you, Brendan Burchard, for calling me out and then kicking me into action, right? So listen, if you're procrastinating on something right now, your goals and your dreams are waiting. The impact that's waiting on the other side of what you want to do is waiting. Let's get started today. My name is Darrell Evans. Thank you so much for being here. This is the MindShift Podcast, and I'm looking forward to many, many episodes and many, many years to come. Take care. Hit the subscribe button so you can become a part of the MindShift community. We'll help you shift your mind so you can shift your results.